video we're going to look at playing double stops, which is just a fancy way of saying playing two notes at the same time. Now if at the moment you're just playing single notes in your solos, then learning some of these common places where you can play two notes together is really going to upgrade what you're doing. So I've put together a tab for a solo that I've used in previous videos, and I'm going to walk you through some of the techniques, so I hope you enjoy. Let's start by looking at some fourths, and my solo begins like this. So a fourth we get when we play the same fret on the B and high E strings together, and those notes are 4 scale notes apart, hence a fourth, and it creates a really bright sound. So I'm starting here at the 12th fret, sliding up 2 frets to the 14th, and then back to the 12th. But how do I know where to play those notes? Well, we're in the key of C sharp minor here, and we've got a C sharp minor pentatonic shape starting here at the 9th fret. The classic minor pentatonic shape. Now, these top 2 notes of that shape, you'll always be able to play a little bar and slide up 2 frets. So whatever key you're playing in, that's always an option to you. Now you can also do it with the next 2 strings down, so the pentatonic shape here. We've got these as our top 2 notes. You can play it there as well. Now if you look at what I was playing, that's exactly what I'm using. I'll also add that further down this pentatonic shape, then on the D and G strings together, you're actually going to want to go to the first 2 notes and play those as fourths, and the same on the A and D strings together. So across that whole pentatonic shape, there's a lot of fourths you can use there. Next then, let's look at some thirds, and back to the solo we had this. So that last little lick there has got some really nice parallel thirds. So the way I think of this, the chord we're aiming at here is this chord, which is an E, in the A-shaped bar chord. So all I'm going to do is take these 2 notes from the G and B strings and play them like this. So when we play thirds on the G and B strings together, there's 2 shapes. This shape, where the notes are at the same fret, and then this shape, where the notes are 1 fret higher on the G string as opposed to the B string. So we've got 9 and 9, and then 11 and 10 together. And then we can move this shape up another 2 frets. And then if we carried on up the scale, we're back to same fret, a fret apart, and then same fret. But we don't really need to worry about going all up the scale here. We're just going to use kind of 3 positions of it. So 9 and 9, 11 and 10, and then 13 and 12. So I'm just sliding from 11 and 10 into 13 and 12, back to 11 and 10, down to 9 and 9, and then 11 and 10, 9 and 9. So whenever you see an A-shaped bar chord like this come up, you can always jump to this position on it and play some little thirds there. Now let's move on to look at some sixths, and they come up in this part of the solo. It's this last little run here. Now with a sixth, we're normally playing the interval with a string gap in between. So in this case, I'm playing the G together with the high E and missing out the B in the middle. Now a sixth is kind of the same as a third, with the notes swapped round. So when we played our third here, we had an E with a G sharp on top. Now we're playing this as a sixth, we're getting a G sharp with a higher E on top. So instead of this, we get this. So we had as thirds, now as sixths, we're getting. And just like with thirds, there's two shapes we need to know to play sixths. So the first shape, where the G string note is 1 fret ahead of the E string note. So here I'm playing 13 on the G and 12 on the high E. That's my first shape. The second shape, both strings are played at the same fret. So here, 14 and 14. Now, there's a classic technique that people use when they're playing sixths, and I'm going to show you that here. So I'm starting at the 11th fret on the G string and sliding into the 13th, and then hitting that 12 on the high E. And then again, we play another slide on the G. This time we're going from 13 to 14, and then 14 on the high E, and then again, slide 14 to 16 on the G, and then 16 on the high E. So we're playing up these little shapes. And then in terms of where to play these sixths, I'm just thinking about this E chord here at the 12th fret and thinking of these two notes as being part of that chord, and then just walking up from there. Now of course I can use these shapes all up the scale, which might sound something like this. But I'm sure you'll work out by ear when you need to play this shape versus this shape. Then lastly, let's take a look at what I call hammer-on thirds. So we close out with this lick. So I'm starting here at the 12th fret on the B and high E together. So we know that's the 4th, but what I'm doing is hammering on to the 14th on the B string, which then gives me a third. So I'm hammering on and pulling off, and then I'm using this note here, 14th fret of the G string, just as a link way to play exactly the same technique, but using the 11th and 12th frets on the G and B string. So hammer on to the 13th and off again on the G string. It's a really nice sounding little lick, that. And then all I'm doing is ending with those same type of thirds we looked at earlier. All together.